Hello there guys, Elite Legionarii here, and today I will be bringing you one of our new historical battles, the Siege of Vienna, and I am joined by PaladinBob. How's it going, Bob?
Hello. Not too bad. How's it going?
Yeah, it's not too bad here.
Hello. Yep.
So we have the Siege of Vienna here. Now I know I said in the last historical battle, Tannerberg, that the next one was going to be a Rome 2 battle, the Battle of Vosges. But Bob here has been very persistent and he really wants to do this siege. So we're back at Medieval 2 and we're back doing another siege. It is an excellent battle to do, and it's definitely going to be a challenging one. As you can see here on the screen, I'm just giving you a bit of a look over of the battlefield setup here. What do you think, Bob? You think this is going to be good?
I think it's going to be challenging for both sides. I think there's pros and cons to both forces here. The Holy Roman Empire's got some nasty-looking guns, which can prove rather bad for the Turks if they sort of bundle into attacking the gatehouse and sort of get caught out there. But I think if the Turks spread out widely and sort of utilise their greater forces, they could probably really stretch the forces for the Holy Roman Empire to the breaking point. It's going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to take into account here is a lot of guns in this fight, like you said, from both the Turks and the Holy Roman Empire. And it's been my experience in Medieval 2 that guns can be a little bit funny in sieges. They sometimes don't, like with Pathfinders, sometimes they don't fire. They do sorts of odd things, so hopefully that won't be a big factor, but it's looking interesting because you just don't see this in normal Medieval 2 sieges. You just don't see a variety of a lot of guns, so it's going to be different from what we're used to. I mean, I can't help but notice too, and I don't think it's going to be a huge factor, but it's going to make it a little bit harder for the attackers because there is a limited amount of siege gear. It's all like there's no cannons here, so on our part to breach the walls. But I mean, it just depends. Like again, the defenders don't have like a whole heap of like heavy sword infantry or anything. They've got a few, but it's mostly pikemen, which means defending walls and various things is not going to be easy or possible for pikemen. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes, to be honest. But it definitely looks good. Do you want to give us a bit of historical background on this battle, just to give the viewers a bit of an idea, Bob, seeing as you're well up on this battle?
Yeah, sure. This battle was fought primarily by the Turks when they were at the height of their power. They pushed up all the way right in, I think it's Austria. And,
yes.
This was probably the sort of peak of their sort of development or sort of progress into Europe. They tried to take Vienna, but their massive siege train, which they often brought with them on these type of battles, got bogged down in heavy rains, and it never actually reached the city itself. So, unfortunately, the Turks were stuck with the city, but they didn't have major artillery to break through. So that's why perhaps the siege equipment is limited here. To reflect that they had the numbers, but they didn't have the tools to make a great breakthrough into the city. The city defenders were primarily made up of Land's Knight pikemen, a very famous pikeman, and the Zai, what they call the Zai handlers, which are the two-handed swords. The Spanish, fearing the progress of the Turks, sent a small contingent of musket troops, auxiliaries to help out, to stave off the forces of the mighty Turks at this point. That's a little bit of the background. But yeah, primarily the thing that really failed them is that the Turks didn't have the artillery. I think if they didn't have the weather problems, the artillery would have arrived, and I think it would have been a completely different.
Out there.
But I think it's going to shape up to be an interesting siege. I think the Turks are going to fight this one wisely. They can't rush into this. If they rush forward and the guns work well on the walls, then they really will be shot to pieces. They've got to sort of really pace themselves and stretch the defenders by, I think, perhaps going for all four gatehouses if they can. possibly stretching out the defence that way. If they try and slam into the two gatehouses straight head on, I think it'll be a completely lost.
I mean, yeah, I totally agree. Like, they have to make use of their numerical advantage in this battle, because if they don't, if they fight too heavily concentrated, like you said, the guns will chop them up. So they definitely, I think, like, I think they don't want to be too weak on any one area, but at the same time, like, if they're overly concentrated, the guns will get them. So the question is, though, like, what did you say?
And you've got to cover the gatehouses. And you've got to cover the gatehouses, else the cavalry, the Turkish cavalry, will rule supreme in this battle.
Mm-hmm. It depends, though. Like, if you fight here in these alleys and lanes in here, like, the cavalry will be nullified because there's so much pikes. Mm. So I mean, it depends what you do. If you give cavalry room, they'll do a lot of damage. But it's going to be, I think it'll actually be quite tricky for some of these sieging armies to make this work, because I mean, you have to take into account like Janissary heavy infantry up against frontal pikemen is you know, if the pikes can hold their wall, it will be hard for them to breach. So it depends how it's going to go, because there's a lot of variations here that are very different from a traditional siege. And if my memory serves me right, though, this battle was essentially what, like you said before, what brought the Ottoman Empire to its final sort of expansionist stage, right? It never sort of kicked off again after this one, right? After they couldn't successfully...
Yeah, this was the zenith of the Turkish, their empire, really. After this, it was all downhill.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's quite an interesting one. I mean, like, you always, with these historical battles, consider what the outcome might be if the opposite wins. And I mean, of course, we had Acre, we had a different result there with Egypt actually winning that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
that was a good one.
That was a good fight.
But, like, I was kind of
bloody King Richard.
Yeah, he was indestructible.
He said, "Die, die, die."
The interesting thing about that one, though, like, it was definitely a different result in terms of the battles historically. But again, like, I think that battle really only would have sped up what really ended up happening in the end, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, it just would have ended the crusade faster than, you know, if the Egyptians had won that one, it would just sort of ended the crusades faster. We probably would have got a very similar outcome to what happened in real history, just happening a lot earlier. Whereas if you take like a battle like this one and the Turks won, the historical implication is enormous, because I mean, it would give the Turks an enormous foothold into you know, Europe from that point, and that really could have had a massive impact long term, if you know what I mean. And I mean Tannenberg we weren't able to change the result on that one at all. I mean, in the end, I think that battle was very difficult for the Teutonic Order to win that battle. So I think this battle, like, out of the battles we've done so far, if the Turk team can win, or the Ottoman team can win, the outcome, like, in terms of what history might have been like, is probably going to be the most glaring in the battles we've done so far. Like, I think, like, I mean, the result.
I think you're correct. Yeah, I think it'd be almost like a change in experience, almost to the degree of like the Romans trying to conquer the Germans type thing. That could have changed the whole of European history. Same here, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, speaking, you know, about the Romans, like I said, me and Swedes were going to do the Battle of Vosges, which is a fight between Julius Caesar and the Swabian chieftain Ariovistus in 58 BC. That was going to be the fight that was going to be third, but being that Swedes has been really busy of late, I haven't been able to get sort of organised with them and stuff, and you guys have been waiting patiently, but I think most of you have gotten a bit impatient and want to get on to another historical battle, which is fair enough. I enjoy the enthusiasm, and I think it's like great that you've actually that you have been, you know, brought this towards our attention. Like, I like that. Like, don't be afraid to ask us if for a very specific battle. Like if you see me in Swedes online, or if you watch these videos and stuff, leave a message if you want us to do something specific. I mean, we love doing whatever battles, and we really enjoy just a mixture of different games to try it on. So if you've got a battle in mind, and we'll cover pretty much any Total War, probably not Shogun 2, as I said, so but we will do pretty much any other Total War game, which should be interesting, and we should be able to try and create some of these scenarios. So if you've got a battle in mind, guys, don't be afraid to message me or Swedes on Steam, or leave a message on these videos and let us know, just like Bob's done here for Vienna, because it's we're really enjoying that. Although I think like for the fourth one, after we're done this one, I think we should go to either Rome Total War or Rome 2. If I remember correctly, we've got an actual map set up for Pharsalus, don't we, on Rome Total War? So for the Battle of Pharsalus, so that will be good.
Yeah. I think we play tested it with a few of our colleagues, and it came out quite well, I thought, on play testing. So I think that might be a good one to do, and particularly if we can maybe get one on Rome Total War 2. I think you were talking about a possibility of a redoing marathon on that as well. That might be up as an option as well, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, some reason my computer, I don't know if it's this scenario or if Fraps is playing up, but I've got a bit of lag. Hopefully that won't be happening when I play the game, but yeah, I mean, we've got some good stuff in the pipeline, I think, and I would like to revisit Marathon. It was very hard to balance, though, if I remember correctly, on Rome 1. We worked with that one quite a bit. Like we had even Greek clansman Cleomenes, and he couldn't even make the Greeks work, and he's a master of pikes, and we just couldn't make it work. The Persian team was just at first the Persian team wasn't strong enough, so we had to get Emperor to rework it, and then it was too strong. We couldn't get the Greeks to win, and we couldn't get it right. So I think we will revisit it one day on Rome 2, because I think we can just do a better job of it on Rome 2. But this battle is definitely going to be a good one, I think. It's definitely interesting. I guess we could outline some of the armies, yeah? Don't mind the lag, guys. I don't know why it's doing that. I think I'll start with my army if this lag doesn't just ends here. Wow, I've never seen lag this bad before. Honestly, it's terrible. But
I think it's the same as my head from last night.
Having a good time there, Bob, were you?
Oh, of course. I'm keeping up the British side of things.
Yeah, you got to with those Frenchies out there. You got to keep your spirits up. Stealing the longbows.
Well, I've given up. Well, I'm hoping with Emperor's new mod, perhaps, because he's done a new mod where he's changed a few things. So I'm hoping I'm going to revisit England with that, and perhaps there might be signs of improvement. But I still have hope. Yeah.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about here, well, me, Bob, and Swedes had this little bit of thing running where we give Bob a bit of stick about the fact that the Scots Guard from the French tend to actually outclass the retinue longbowmen by a margin, and we always give him a bit of stick there with the French actually coming out on top there in the longbow duel, which isn't entirely historically accurate, but it's a good source of laughter. But anyway, here, I guess we should talk about our armies here. I've got Sultan Suleiman's main force here, which, as you can see here in the unit cards, consists of 5 units of Janissary heavy infantry, 1 general's bodyguard, obviously, 2 Capiculu, 2 Janissary musketeers, and 3 Janissary archers. If memory serves me right, there were definitely a lot of Janissaries at this fight. It was there was basically the cream of the Ottoman army, wasn't it, Bob? There was really quality units here, and there were a lot of mixture of other units from Hungary. Yes.
Yeah, but I believe also that they were starting to feel the winter of Austria at the time, so the Janissaries particularly were getting a bit upset and complaining to the Sultan, saying, why are we here? Where's the artillery? Moaning about sort of things not going well. So sort of thing. So morale wasn't the best for the Turks at this particular battle, I feel.
Yeah, I mean that is always a massive factor in these battles. Like I mean, it kind of be in some ways. I think if you could factor those things into these historical battles, like maybe if Emperor's watching this, maybe it's. I think Emperor does sometimes do this sort of thing. But if you are watching Emperor, perhaps like in some historical battles, if there's like clear reference to a certain army being like really bad on morale or something like that. Depending, of course, you've got to try and balance it with the game, but it would be something interesting to implement in future historical battles, like perhaps give a bit of a penalty to one army in terms of morale, like within reason, of course, because you've got to factor in the game's mechanics and balancing and all that. So it's definitely something that would be interesting to try. But I mean, as Bob was saying, the morale was quite poor. I think for the Turks in this fight. I'm just having a look at this Hungarian army. This is going to be really interesting to put that to how to put that to use inside the city. What do you think?
I think that historically the Hungarians they brought a large cav force to this battle, and indeed the Turks themselves had a reasonable cav force, which unfortunately for a siege battle isn't that brilliant. But if the Turks can breach a gatehouse and get inside, I think the mobility of the cav will give them lots of options. It's really if they can hold a gatehouse, get the cav inside, and then I think that cav strength will play a massive role for the attackers.
I mean, I'm not so sure though. Like, I mean, it's general consensus for most experienced sieges. It depends, but I would say in a siege like this, it would be highly probable that a lot of the units will be placed into the square. I reckon, just because they can pike it off, and then in which case the cav could be nullified. But it depends, though. Like, I guess if the Turkish player gets their missile units into good positions here, then they can just shoot the pikes up if they sit back in the square. So it really depends. I think placement of missile units is going to be real critical, real key here for both teams, because you need to be able to definitely gain those edges. And I think the Holy Roman Empire's got a lot of guns, if memory serves right here, or is it Spain that's got the guns? I can't remember. Spain's got a lot of guns.
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, there's still
the Spain's got. I think they've got about 3 firearms, and I think the Holy Empire has got about 3 handgunners. Actually, they've got. So it's again, placement of guns is awkward if you don't get the right position or put them on a wall and they you lose half your shots. It's they're a problematic unit to use. If you use them well, you can turn a battle. Use them badly, and they're completely hopeless.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, like, guns can be a bit funny in sieges. Like, at least in my experience, sometimes they don't fire, sometimes they don't form properly. So hopefully that's not going to be a problem. But it has on occasion happened before. I did quite a large siege the other day. And one of our players had some guns, and they weren't firing. Like, they were sitting right there with a perfect line of sight, and they just didn't fire. And he had on all set up perfectly fine. So sometimes you can have little problems with guns. So hopefully that won't be a problem. But it is something that could be worrying. But it's definitely, like as I said before, this is going to be an odd siege by standards because it's so different from what we normally do, just as a traditional siege. I mean, I like the change of pace. I like the difference. I reckon it's going to be really fun to try this out. I mean, what about you? What are you thinking will be,
similar to what you said? Similar to what you said earlier about it really depends how the defender's going to play. If he sits back deep, it's going to allow the Turkish forces to come in and utilise their numbers and their firepower and their cavalry. If he tries to push up on the walls and hold that, if the guns work, you'll probably be okay. If the guns don't work so well, it could be in problems. So it really is a battle that could go either way, I think there's a potential for mishaps and mistakes that could really cost one or the other side the battle. I think attention to detail in this battle will be critical, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's going to be the whole thing, like more so than usual. I think placement's going to be absolutely crucial, critical everywhere. I mean, cavalry use, it depends. Like I just noticed, the Holy Roman Empire has a unit of raiders, and that could be a real nuisance unit for the Turks. Like I was thinking, like if it were to go out at the army that's like on the Ottoman near the river on the far left. Because that army's got like no cavalry, and the raiders could come out and just take pot shots at like the some of these units here, or they could even get the Ottomans to waste ammunition. So there's going to be some really interesting things I think you could do with that. Like I would almost be inclined, if I were the defender team, to make a cav sally out against that army if it was deployed too close, because it's got no means to defend itself. I mean, the Hungarian army's got lots of cav and stuff, and so does some of the other Turk armies, but they're so far away from it. Whereas if you were to get like your cavalry units, I mean, the Holy Roman Empire's got some, like, looks like it's got some merchant cavalry militia and some Gothic knights. That's Gothic knights, right? Looks like it. And I think, yeah, and the general's bodyguards.
They've got a couple of weak cav and 2 generals.
Oh, they're generals.
The raiders are, they're generals. Yeah, so 2 generals, 2 weak militia cav, and that's about it for the cavalry for the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah,
Raiders, of course.
I still think it could be used very deadly against this Turkish army that's got no cav. If it's done right, it could be dangerous. So, I mean, that's always a feasible option too. So I think like that might be wise for that player to deploy back, and potentially for the other players to prepare for that. Because I mean, some players, myself included, tend to be pretty aggressive with their cavalry, even as the defender. So there's a lot of options out there. Be interesting. I mean, the Hungarian player could be very helpful to the Turk player on that side. But I mean, it is a very long way to go with cavalry for the Hungarian, being on the completely opposite side from him. So, interesting what could be done there as well.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else you want to add? Anything else you feel we should talk about with this battle? Or are we giving too much away?
We could well be. So I think it might be a good time to maybe wrap this up and sort of say, well, let others develop their own strategies and sort of we'll meet on the battlefield, mate.
Yes, I think you might be right. We could just imagine this. Napoleon sits down there with the British and just like, you know, lads, I'm just gonna do this, and this, and hopefully you guys won't remember this conversation.
Well, this reminds me of I've had a couple of ones where we play chess and you get to about 10 moves in after half an hour and you both look at each other and they say draw. They go yeah. They go down the pub. So it reminds me of that. Yeah. So it's avoid talking too much strategy. Let them sort of find a strategy maybe just before the battle.
I guess it's not as bad. I've done this a few times. I forget, like I think like one time a 31k battle on Rome Total War, and I think it was with who was it with? It was with Biscuits and Mo, I think. And I was on the team, but the friggin' sneaky pricks went and changed the team on me, and I ended up telling my whole team's battle plan to the wrong team.
Yeah, but that could be a ploy, you see. So you never know with you, Elizabeth. I still remember that. Chariots or the Cataphractory mark where you encouraged me to take sort of a Triarii. So you have to be careful.
Oh yes, yeah. I do like to try a bit of deception, but I've cocked it up a few times. Anyway, I think I better put a close to this vid. Hope you guys are excited about this. For dates, this will be done on Sunday. It's Friday evening, or it's just gone Saturday morning actually for me, just gone after midnight, so it'll be Saturday morning, so I presume it's Friday morning for you, right, Bob, over there in Britain? rainy Britain.
That's yes, indeed. In fact, rain is the nature of the weather at the moment.
It's like that here as well. So yeah, that'll be. I guess that would be. I think we should just do it at the same normal times, which is what's the normal times been? It's been sort of about midday, right?
So it'd be lunch time for us. So midday, as you say. I think for you that will be late evening, and for our friends in America that will be early morning. It's 6 in the morning, I think it was.
Yes. So, I think what do you want to make that?
12 midday.
Yeah, 12
midday.
Yeah.
That's plus 11 hours for you, so that'll be that'll be 23. I think so. It's virtually 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it'll be about 11 p.m.
And 6 a.m. for those in America on the East Coast.
Yeah, we feel sorry for the Yanks. They have to be out really.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, suppose you put it that way. They deserve it.
Well, it just happens to be.
Anyway, yeah, so that's the time, guys. So if you're in Europe, you want to be around at about probably between midday to 1 o'clock in the European region of the world. If you're in my region of the world, you're going to have to be up pretty late on a Sunday evening. Hopefully that's not a problem for you. And if you're somewhere in between that, you can kind of work it out between midday Sunday and Sunday evening. And if you're an American, well, you're just going to have to go to bed early on Saturday night to make it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll see you on the battlefield and we'll have a good battle. And we'll catch you soon next time.